Hi!
Sounds like...
Welcome to the shop.
Right? I love this place.
Today, Kaj Beck is here, and we're outfitting his battle station with a new mount for the NQALHA and the latest NQALHA revision. Well, not quite the latest. I mean, the next ones are coming soon. So you've had now for almost 6 months,
yes,
maybe
sir.
even a little longer. You're probably the most experienced user of the NQALHA. You know, how's it going?
I love the machine, man. It's going great. And honestly, like how we've talked in the past, once you have the machine on your table and you're working, and you're going and you're like, oh, I could use that right now, and it has so many purposes at the
Yes.
on the fly purposes.
As you start integrating it into your workflow, and you keep finding, oh, I can use it for this, I can use it for that.
And especially when you're, there's like that certain level of improvisation that happens when we're blowing glass. For some people are obviously more strict, or regimented with their process. But there's always that moment when it's like, oh shit, what do I do? You know what I mean? And if there's a situation like that, like let's say you just want to keep your piece hot for a second, you can mount it up in your NQALHA, put it over the Bunsen, and not have to wait the 7 to 10 minutes that you're dealing with your kiln. Personally, I hate going in and out of the kiln. It's just too much time sitting around.
Yeah,
so,
makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. So being able to, working with a Bunsen or flashing your piece, it's great. But to actually be able to have something to hold it while you gather your bearings about what the hell it is that you're doing, what your next move is, and then immediately go right to it it's beautiful.
Yeah, that seems to me to be one of the main strengths of the machine, is that when you're doing handwork, you've got to stand there and you've got to keep it going, and you can't take a break and you can't stop, and it's just endless repetition, especially with a heavy piece.
Oh God, yes.
And with the NQALHA, you can kind of let the machine take over for a while you rest, you get out of the heat zone.
Yeah, you could relax for a second. Like another thing, like how you're saying, get out of the heat zone. Like when I'm building my cane prep, especially, like I'll do these clear core color canes, and that are like 50 mil diameter by the time I'm done with them, and
that's a lot of radiant heat.
That's a shitload of radiant heat, and to be able to actually set the machine up and let it, work as a lathe. It's not quite a lathe, but to work and just melt those layers in,
soak in some heat.
Oh my God, it's beautiful, because I can literally stand back and just be like, all right, cool, take my hands off of it. It's doing all the work for me, boom, 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 boom. And then when it's time for whatever the move is, I just pull it out of the NQALHA and lay my next lines down, do whatever.
Oh yeah, and that's why it's called an assistant. It's not a machine that you use for every part of every operation.
No.
You alternate back and forth with handwork. It's like a belt sander for a woodworker.
Yeah, they're cool, man. They are super cool. Like whatever it was that gave you the idea to create this thing it's awesome. Because a lot of people are going to find a lot of use for it. The one thing that I have noticed, like how you were talking about as an assistant, like a lot of guys that I've let use it and try it, they'll sit there and they'll work it as if they're using their arm, as you normally would. They instead of spinning, they got their hand on the machine and they're sitting there trying to move it, instead of just like kind of relaxing and letting the machine do the work kind of situation.
Yeah.
But I think what's happening there is when somebody comes in and they see the machine, they're like, holy shit, that's really fucking cool, right? Like, I want to make something, and it's like, cool, yeah, they'll totally make something. But their thought process is, because it's such a limited time that they've had with the machine, that it's more like they want to play with the machine, not necessarily make their piece of glass and realize where the machine comes in. They're trying to use the machine to make a piece of glass.
Well,
and then what time they would Oh, okay, this is, yeah, I'm totally.
And what I've noticed is that even some very experienced glass workers struggle with it. And I use the analogy, well, I just invented the saxophone and I'm giving it to a bunch of guitar players.
Yeah, right.
You know, you guys are all really good musicians, but the technique for using this machine is still being invented. You're inventing it, Marcel is inventing it.
Yeah.
The other people that have been doing the beta test are making up the technique as they go along. And I think a lot of the hand workers that are used to this kind of work where they're constantly in and out of the flame and moving around, and they try to do the same thing with the NQALHA,
yes.
and they go, why am I dragging around this big heavy piece of machinery? And you picked it up just instantly. Almost the first time you touched it, you kind of just got it.
Yeah.
And you were making useful stuff within minutes after touching it for the first time.
Yeah, I think, that's great. You know, it's like I said, it's a matter of making a piece of glass and finding what the machine is going to help you with, other than use the machine to find you what's going to help. Using the machine to make the glass. Does that make sense?
It kind of makes sense. Now, when we were talking before, you told me that it actually increased your productivity.
Oh yeah, totally, 100%. Like, God, it was like 2 months ago before I got back on the road. I had to do a bunch of prep work, color prep work for the milli builds, and I pulled like 120, 150 feet, I think it was, in 3 days. It might have been 2, but I think it was 3 days. It's been a minute, so my memory's not as good, but that would have normally taken me probably 5 days to do something like that, just because of the exposure to the environment that I put myself in when you're pulling milli. It's so damn hot. It's like, there's only so much the body can handle, you know what I mean? It's like...
Oh, I can only imagine that. I mean, I've been around hot shops a little bit,
yeah.
And I have a tiny idea what the radiant heat is like, but just to have to stand there for hours in that heat field.
It's gnarly. It's super gnarly. And this is like literally, like I was saying, it's like I'll lay my lines down, I'll put the piece in, especially on the round milli, like I can put the piece in the machine, in the NQALHA, start torching it, and like, literally sit back with my paddle and like, just chill out. And that's kind of like what it's all like for me.
And
like,
take a step back.
Yeah, and like I've been blowing glass 22 years, and like one of the things that I've learned, or that whatever, not learned or realized, whatever, it's I'm pretty lazy. I'm a pretty lazy guy, right? And I liked JoJo. God, what was his name? He's a drummer, JoJo something. He had a quote where he's like, "I'm lazy by nature, so I rely on technique." And it's like, oh, that makes complete sense to me. It like totally rang true, because it's when your technique is dialed, and the tool can be considered technique because there is technique to use the tool, and to be able to have the technique or the tools allows you to be lazy and chill and like let your mind kind of relax.
And I think that's one of the greatest benefits of it, is to allow that moment of relaxation.
Oh, it's huge. Especially like, I mean, there comes times when you're putting something together, shit's hot, and you're like, holy fuck, you know what I mean? What am I doing? And then, like, you obviously always have to push through it. You always have to, like, another thing that I go by is don't ever give up the gates.
You never give up.
Never give up, you know what I mean? Just keep going. And if let's say, like you're saying, and you're in a situation where you're just going, and you're constantly thinking on the fly, that if you can have that, like you said, if you can have that 1-2 minutes of like, okay, what the fuck am I doing? Right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And then another thing, in your first video of making a rig, when the piece wasn't even rotating and you were using the NQALHA as a fixture,
Yeah.
just to hold it in place, and you think about the traditional way that, you know, here you have this object that you've invested a tremendous lot of time creating, and you have to hold it with one hand while you work on it, attach things, do little welding, you know, clean up welded joints, get the downstem positioned right, and you've got to hold it.
Yeah.
It seems like it's so easier, well, just let the machine hold it, and then you can work on it with two hands, with your tungsten pick and your micro torch.
Exactly, 100%. And then, like, you know, the other, you know, obviously, like, when you're doing those kind of moves, you know, you can do this vertical setup.
Right.
Or then, you know, like, all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I need to go this direction.
And you can let gravity work for you because, you know, at glass blowing, you only have a few tools. You have heat and you have gravity.
Right.
And then a little bit of pokes and prods and tungsten and graphite.
And so the machine has proved invaluable on so many fronts. Like, I've pulled cane with it, I've built the rigs with it, I've made joints with it, like with a jointing tool. The one thing that I wouldn't...
You make your moils?
Yeah, I do my moils. I mean, anything that I can, honestly, anything that when I'm working, anything where I'm like, oh shit, NQALHA can do that. I'm gonna utilize the machine. Like what I'll do is, like another thing I'll do is I'll put my moils on my steel, and then I'll put my steel punny in here, and then just let it rotate over the Bunsen while I'm working and dealing with the other shit. You know what I mean?
Right, and keep it hot and keep it ready.
Hot. Yeah, keep it ready. Exactly. Then
keep it hot so that when you're ready for it, it's ready.
Bam, ready to go. And those kind of things, obviously, in a glass blowing situation, like when it's time to go, it's time to go.
It's definitely time to go.
Like there's no fucking around at certain points.
So you are going to be demonstrating at DFO, and you're going to bring the battle station with the NQALHA?
Yes, sir.
And hopefully, with any luck, I will have 10 finished units, production ready, to go at my booth.
Yeah,
everything goes right.
Yeah, that'll be great. I'm super excited about it. I'm super excited about this mount that we just you fabricated for this, because, like I was telling you, like the
sometimes space is very limited when you're setting up in the corner of somebody's shop or demonstrating in some confined area.
Yeah, exactly.
And you want to keep everything as compact, and also just being able to roll it in and unfold it without having to do a whole bunch of setup.
Oh God, that's the worst. That drives me crazy. You know what I mean? That's like, personally just drives me nuts. And now it's like, oh shit, we're good. You know what I mean? And we're totally good. So and you know, a lot of us do travel, but a lot of us also stay stationary at home. So like, as far as the mounting system can obviously be figured out for whoever. You know what I mean?
There are many mounting options that have not yet been explored. I can imagine screwing one to a bench. Obviously, the steel plate is good for portability and ease of repositioning.
Oh, yeah.
But there may be all sorts of different ways that people come up with, that I come up with, that you come up with.
Oh, and even like, let's say, you know, you have somebody that picks one up, and they're you know, they get home and they're like, okay, the steel plate obviously works, but it'd be really fucking cool if I had a mount on the side of my, you know what I mean? And you know, whatever, it's like the design that you've come up with on this, how it mounts like this is beautiful, because it just works with anything.
It folds for transport and locks down with the screw.
Yeah, this is so cool. This makes life so nice when it comes to travel for me. I'm not going to have any problems. And that thing's just locked right in there. Wham, bam, ready to go. So awesome.
Well, thank you very much for visiting and for being such an excellent beta tester. I have no doubt that you will continue to explore the possibilities of this machine.
Oh yeah, man. And like like I said, the especially now having it mounted to my table, there's, like I said, there's been a couple of shops I've been in where I was like, fuck man, there's no place to put it right now.
Yeah.
You know, but obviously because I'm traveling and I'm working in somebody else's environment, you know, at home it's a completely different story because it's my shop. You know, it's like, put shit wherever the fuck I want.
Well, once again, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem, Mike. No problem, I appreciate it.
I appreciate it too.
Cool.